ahead.
Okay, أهلا وسهلا فيكم. Welcome everybody, and thank you all for attending this workshop. As you may know, the Fulbright Foreign Student Program is sponsored by the US Department of State and funded by the US Congress. Amidis administers the program in Lebanon and in several other countries in the Middle East and North Africa. More than 400,000 Fulbrighters have participated in this program since its inception 75 years ago. The Fulbright program awards approximately 8,000 grants annually. The program in Lebanon provides full funding for up to 2 years of study for a master's degree in the US, beginning in August 2022. So far, we have about 200 Lebanese alumni who completed this program. It's my pleasure to welcome today one of them, Lea Hakim, who's the economist and development practitioner with 15 years of experience covering macroeconomics monitoring and policy advice, debt management reform, and climate change finance at the national and international levels. She's currently senior economist in the World Bank's Global Macro and Debt Analytics team based in Washington, D.C. Previously, Lea had spent more than 7 years at the Lebanese Ministry of Finance with the UNDP project, providing economic and fiscal policy advice to ministers of finance. She has taught development economics part-time at the American University of Beirut. Driven by giving back, Lea has inspired and led teams to found and or grow 5 nonprofit organizations in Lebanon and abroad for positive change in the community focused on youth, mentorship, women's empowerment, and job creation. She is the principal co-founder of the Fulbright Alumni Association of Lebanon, FAL. She's currently volunteers at the Washington, D.C. Ambassador for Jobs for Lebanon. Lea holds a high distinction BA in economics from AUB and an MA in international and development economics from Yale University while she was on the Fulbright program. She is passionate about public policy, sustainable development, and the performing arts. Lea, I would like to thank you very much for agreeing to be with us today and share with us your wonderful, professional, impressive experience.
Hala, thank you very much for inviting me to share this experience. I'd like to also start off by saying a big thank you to for the opportunity to have been selected to get this Fulbright scholarship. So maybe I'll tell wonderful students and applicants a little bit what my background is and how Fulbright experience helped to shape my professional experience. So the year I was graduating from my undergrad, I was walking on campus and there was a lone table and bulletin board with something about a Fulbright scholarship on it, and I had not heard about it before. So campus was empty. It was after all finals were finished, and when I read the requirements, I said, "This is an amazing opportunity. Let me try and apply." I was fortunate to get the scholarship and to actually have it fund my master's studies in the United States in the academic year 2004 and 5. I had studied economics for my undergrad and was very much driven to pursue development economics on the graduate level. And I was also really lucky because the year that I was selected as part of this Fulbright cohort was the first year that after the Civil War that basically there was a resumption of programs for basically degree granting programs funded by Fulbright. So there were a few years where it was basically the Fulbright Scholar Program for non-degree research. So I was lucky to be part of that cohort where our full master's program was going to be funded. And I have to say it was a very generous scholarship because not only does it fund the academic studies, there's also a stipend for living expenses. And there is also a allowances for academic needs, which, for example, helped me purchase a laptop at the time, as well as your travel to and from Beirut. What was special about my Fulbright experience is it was, I think, for many of my other Fulbright colleagues, a very enriching experience. It was really pivotal and life-changing, primarily because, first of all, you are being exposed to world-leading academics. You are being exposed to a different country. First time, for example, I had lived in the US. You are also exposed to classmates that are coming from around the world. So you're also exposed to different cultures. So the learning curve is very interesting because you're learning on so many different levels. That makes it very enriching. My Fulbright experience was also, and it was a very exciting time. It's a time where you can not only dig further into your field of study, it's also a time you feel that you're also discovering the world. So first of all, academically, as I mentioned, I actually was fortunate that my master's was at Yale University in International Development Economics. So really felt top-notch education, access to professors, but also access to resources, to research opportunities. In my program, I also had the opportunity to select different electives, which meant that you could also learn from different faculties across the university. The second form of learning also was really, there were other forms of learning and interaction that the Fulbright experience specifically provides. So for example, when we first reach the US, you will undergo an orientation program, which is really interesting because in the orientation, you also get to meet other Fulbright students from around the world. And the other opportunity also is enrichment seminars. So during the time, I was exposed to one enrichment seminar on a specific topic that was also part of the experience. Again, widening your learning and also having the opportunity to connect with, again, international Fulbrighters. So the experience is really rich at the academic level, the personal level, the social level. Now, where I would say the Fulbright experience also helped shape my professional path is that after my scholarship and the master's, you're allowed to stay in the US for a certain amount of time to do something called academic, basically to pursue an internship or a fellowship as academic experience. So I was fortunate to be selected for a 6-month United Nations Fulbright Fellowship, which was kind of my first foray into really the career path that I always dreamed of. And that was essentially to do, so I basically was at the United Nations in New York working on development issues, and that was enabled by this fellowship program. And because I had this experience, when I moved to Lebanon after this program, so I moved back to Lebanon at the end of 2005, that helped me actually to get my next job, which was a consultancy at ESQA, which is also part of the UN Secretariat, working on very similar issues that I had worked on during my fellowship. And then from there, I gained experience and was, then applied to my next opportunity, which was at the Ministry of Finance in a project for the UNDP, which was fiscal reform. And basically, it was a technical assistance project for fiscal reform and management, where I worked on macro fiscal policy issues for many years. And again, that was a trampoline to the next opportunity. So what I would say is, in general, this Fulbright experience, this opportunity to continue graduate study is really a passport, right, of having this graduate education and helping you to forge that career path. I would also say that in addition to helping on the professional track, it has also very much helped me grow my my network and meet really amazing and inspiring leaders. So for example, when I came back to Lebanon, I you know, decided to form with another friend who was a Fulbright alumni, an alumni association for all of the Fulbright scholarship and other Fulbright program recipients, which is called the Fulbright Alumni Association of Lebanon, or FAL. And the real motivation there was to bring these like-minded people together and really give back to Lebanon, right? Because the scholarship had given us such opportunity, the idea was really to see how can we bring these really motivated, driven people together who had this sort of experience and see how we can help our country, essentially. And I'm very proud that we were able to do that. And FAL continues to do that, for example, through a number of programs, including a youth mentorship program that we implement jointly with Amadis annually to more than 500 students. Another example, other than FAL, is that I've also been involved in Fulbright networks in my current job as well. And that's given me also the opportunity to try and impact positive change also at the international level as well. So what I would say overall is that the Fulbright experience is enriching, it is pivotal, it is really life-changing, it opens many doors and opportunities, it helps you have exposure to the world, deepen your academic knowledge, and also forge and be part of a really impressive community of other Fulbrighters who are each emerging leaders in their fields. So thanks again for the opportunity to share my background with you, and thanks of course to the Department of State for providing these opportunities to students all around the world. It's really a unique program, and I wish each of you the best in your applications. And I'm going to keep my remarks short because I'd actually really love to hear from you, hear your questions, and have this be interactive. So thanks again, Hala. Sorry, Hala,
Yeah, thank you, Lea. So if you have any questions, but not about the application, if you want anything, any information about the application, please, you have to join us for the Tuesday session that's on the website where you can register. But for the moment, you can ask Lea questions about her experience, her field of study, or anything you are interested to learn about. So feel free to ask your questions. You can raise your hand if you want so that we can. Okay, so Yara is asking you, Lea, can you please tell us more about the field of study?
Yes, absolutely. So my degree was essentially a master's in economics. And there were additional courses that kind of specialized in international economics and development economics. So the core of it, as an economics degree, the core courses were related to microeconomics, macroeconomics, econometrics, and also international economics, where we discuss questions related to international trade, balance of payment issues, and then the course of development economics. So basically looking at different questions related to economic growth, what is the relationship between different parameters, for example, the relationship of education, the relation and economic growth. So you basically in development economics, you are also trying to understand different facets of different trajectories for countries, how they can grow their economies. um, and what kind of different policies they can consider to enhance their productive capacity and move into, let's say, enhance their income levels as well. Sorry, I lost electricity for a second, so I'm not sure if I missed something.
No, you're fine. That's okay. Okay, Ahmed Talib. Ahmed, you have a question? Eli, can you unmute Ahmed? Lea, you have 2 cameras. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so until Eli بيخلي أحمد يعمل له unmute. How many, Sibel is asking, how many credits is the Masters in International Development Economics, if you still remember?
Sure. So, I mean, different economic programs will have different requirements. My program was a 1-year program. As I mentioned, there were 5 core courses. I think they were each a full 3 credits. In addition, there were a number of other requirements you had to take and electives. Other master's programs may require 2 years of study and may have different requirements, but typically they all have those core requirements that I mentioned in terms of macroeconomics and econometrics. Some will also require a master's thesis, and some will require, so that's kind of the core for what I would say are the terminal level master's programs. And here I'm making a distinction with masters that you would get en route to a PhD program. So here I am talking about the type of master's program that the Fulbright scholarship would support, which is a terminal master's program. Typically in the US, they're 1 to 2 years long.
Okay.
Hello.
Ahmed, تفضل.
Thanks, Leo, for sharing your experience with us. I just want to ask a few questions. First, about your what's the difficulties you face in this scholarship, and or how this scholarship helps you for being what you want to be, and what's the condition to get if there is a special condition we should work on to get this scholarship. Thank you.
Okay, so a key condition, look, I would say you want to be really genuine about and really driven by what you want to study. I don't know, I think I'm reading some of the other questions that are coming in, and there's a theme there about what would you consider maybe key to the success or to the application, etc. At least from my perspective, I think it really helps if you are really passionate and driven about what you want to study and why you want to study it, right? Like, what is ultimately your ambition? How do you want to contribute, right, in this world and maybe to your country? So from my perspective, I was always really driven because I just wanted to, I guess, help improve people's lives. And one way to do that is to work at the macro policy level, right? And that's why I actually wanted to study development economics. So one thing I would say is that, allow this kind of motivation to also shine through, and for you to kind of have, I know sometimes it's hard to determine exactly what path you'd like to take, but for me, development economics was definitely one that I felt would help me achieve this overall sort of objective, to help, institute some change or play a small role in that globally and in Lebanon. What was the first part of your question?
So the other questions is how what difficulties you was facing during while moving from Lebanon to the United States to get some degree, the master degree, if there is any social, maybe economical, maybe financial aid for this scholarship, for this living in the US. So if there's any kind of difficulty, may you share it with us so we can maybe solve it with the, or maybe if we face it, we can know how.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things I was worried about actually before I went was I wasn't sure if the education I had at the undergraduate level was going to be sufficient, because I was going to, I mean, even though I was accepted in the program and I had high grades in my undergrad, but I wasn't sure if this was enough at Yale, because we hear these big university names, and I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised that my undergraduate education was a very solid foundation for the degree. Now, what I would also say is, of course, you have to put in a lot of hard work. These are serious master's programs. You're going to work really hard, and that's the point of being a student. So in terms of maybe challenges is, in the program, we were assigned a lot of readings for every class. That was something I wasn't used to at the undergraduate level. So these are complex papers, many papers for each class that you had to have read. So that was, let's say, a change from the requirements that I was used to at the undergraduate level. Now, you also asked about challenges in terms of living in the US. Financially, I would say the scholarship stipend was it's calculated very much depending on which state you're in. So I lived from that essentially, or that's basically what you need as a student. Otherwise, I think some things that can help, because maybe for many of you, it might be the first time you live alone, or you live away from family, or you live in a different country. Sometimes you might feel a bit lonely, or that can be isolating for some people. So one thing that I always recommend here is make sure that you have a nice group of friends, other international students. If you don't have Lebanese, for example, understand that in your university, but other international students can help you, they can help relate, and always keep in touch with your friends and family back home. That really helps as well. So it's sometimes a bit hard to be away. When I was gone, for example, a lot of things happened in 2005, which was a whole year I didn't come to Lebanon. And it was, you want to be able, you're worried about what's happening back home, and you might not be able to be there. And so, like I said, trying to stay connected helps.
Nicolas, تفضل.
Hello. I wanted to ask if someone wants to pursue a master's in economics, not necessarily international development economics, maybe something related to macroeconomics or micro, do you have to have a good basis in math, or can you start with, can you apply to a master's like that with a bachelor in arts, for example, in international relations, for example?
What I would say is, the further you pursue economic graduate work, the more and more maths is important. Now, there are cases where if you don't have all of the prerequisite maths background, you may be required to actually undertake math remedial courses in the summer semester before the official academic year starts. I know that this was an option at the university that I went to. I had the prerequisites, so I started the academic year in September. But again, I would say you need to check with the program if the other courses that you have taken are sufficient or not. Typically, you will need some math for sure, like linear algebra and some other courses that are required for economics at the graduate level.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have other students who ask, where did you apply other than Yale?
Well, I think the at the time, and I think the process has changed now, Hala, if I'm not mistaken, but at the time, which was a long time ago now, in 2003, when I applied, the process was that once you are selected for the scholarship, then you identify your top 4 choices to Amethyst. It's still the same. Oh, excellent. And then Amethyst basically applies on your behalf, and they inform you which university you are selected to. Now, of your choices, out of my top 4 choices, Amethyst applied to one of them, and then they selected 3 other programs that were similar. And luckily, I actually got the choice that I had selected. The other, I think the ones I had put in my application were Yale, the Masters at Boston University, the MPA ID at Harvard, and I think maybe the Masters at NYU, if I'm not mistaken. And out of those 4, Amethyst actually applied to Yale, to Marquette University, I believe. I actually can't remember the other 2, but yeah. But all to say is that there are many, many really like solid economic master's programs. And I also know this because of other Lebanese Fulbrighters who have done, for example, the masters at Vanderbilt and other universities.
Yeah. Sorry, the electricity went. It's my turn now.
Your turn.
So yeah, we would like to remind applicants that not the 4 universities will be from top universities that we are familiar in Lebanon. So they should be, they have the choice between 4,500 universities in the US that are all accredited. And among those, they can select 4, and they need the approval of the Department of State to approve these 4. And then Amethyst, our office in Washington, D.C., they will help them in the application process. Can you tell us more about work or career opportunities in the international economics program offers? And also maybe if you can also expand on your World Bank experience and the type tasks you perform there.
Sure. So if you're interested to pursue economics and work in the field of international development, there are many avenues you can work in. One is to work at the policy level. So for example, like I did at the beginning here in Lebanon, I was working in fiscal policy. So that means that you are helping maybe your own government or others to think about what kind of revenue or expenditure policies they can have in place, and what is the distribution effects, for example, of those policies. You can work on the monetary policy aspect, which is where you look at what the central bank essentially policies are where it comes to money supply or interest rates, etc. You can also, if you're interested to work at the microeconomics level, this is where, for example, you can be a poverty economist or an environmental economist. So what I wanted to maybe just highlight is economics kind of gives you the tools and the quantitative tools, okay, to use. And then you can specialize in so many things after that once you've done a master's, right? So these examples are just some examples of the type of, let's say, fields that I've seen economists do within the field of international economics. So international development. Also, for example, you can be a health economist. So again, you can specialize in many different areas. And once you have a master's level degree, a lot of this stuff you might have studied in your degree. You may have taken, for example, electives in these areas or specialized courses in these areas, but you can also learn a lot on the job, given that you have this quantitative analysis and background. As to your second question about what I've been working on. So one of the roles that I had was one of a country economist. So what that means is that you are working on, trying to understand how the economy of a country works, what are the main drivers of growth, what are the main bottlenecks maybe to jobs. You will be basically designing or working with a model to forecast, let's say, the macroeconomic and fiscal projections for that model, right? What is growth going to be in the country, inflation, different economic indicators. So you basically work on what's called a macro fiscal framework. You would also think through and discuss with the authorities different, let's say, policy related questions, help to design projects or help to design operations, and help countries also to think through the kind of reforms that they would like to put in place. You can also provide something called technical assistance, so do a lot of analytical work that also serves as the foundation to understanding different challenges in the economy. And also work on some other aspects of the economy. For example, is the level of debt sustainable for the country? What measures do they need to put in place to make sure that there is growth creation, that there is job creation, that you keep inflation under control, to expand, let's say, export opportunities, to diversify the economy. I mean, these are just some of the questions that you might be asking. And then on the micro level questions, there are questions about also how do we, and what are the policies to, let's say, reduce poverty, to help countries improve the quality of life of their citizens, to improve the livelihoods or the incomes of people who have less purchasing power, for example, to look at questions related to inequalities within countries as well. So these are some of the questions that you could be working on if you are working as an economist in a, let's say, multilateral development organization. My undergraduate, Kaitrin, I see your question was actually in economics, and I also did a minor in political studies. I see another question from Hamad. What is one advice you would tell your younger self if you could? Maybe, well, it depends on the work that you might be willing to do. Maybe one advice for me would be to maybe write more papers when I was younger. I think that's a really good way to also further flesh out your quantitative skills and a review of the literature out there. So that's one thing, for example. Yara asks, what were the difficulties you faced in this field as a woman? First, I'd like to acknowledge that it is true that men are more represented than women, especially in macroeconomics. I personally don't, I'm not sure I faced any specific difficulties of having gone into this field as a woman specifically. I think there were maybe other challenges related to being a woman in the workplace or otherwise, or working in countries that's a bit more patriarchal, or that value a lot more experience, so you feel like you have to work harder and prove yourself more. But I'm not sure that I would say that is very specific to the field of economics, at least not in my experience so far. I think what's also helped is that more and more there's a recognition that, you know, we need to empower other women and to also have certain more inclusive, let's say, HR practices to make sure that, I mean, this is happening a bit more recently now, to make sure that women have a voice, to make sure there are more women on panels so that you're hearing different perspectives, that women have more opportunities. There's also more of a discussion on equal opportunities and equal pay. So these are things that are now a lot more in the mainstream than they used to be.
So Lea, would you advise the applicants to search programs in the States? Because I know that there are a lot of master's degree programs in economics that are not available in Lebanon, but it's needed by Lebanon.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you, what I would say is, yes, do your research. I mean, there are so many programs out there, and you want to try and find a program that is closer to, first of all, what you'd like to specialize in. So like I said, each program might have some different requirements. They will have different faculty members, and that means that different faculty have different research interests, which means that you go to specific universities, you might be exposed. Maybe you can become also work on specific research with that professor. So that's also one thing to keep in mind. So there are many factors when you're looking into the program. Like I said, think about what you want to do afterwards and which kind of program will help to better position you, right? So you're very privileged to be able to do another program. It's an excellent time to learn further, to dig deeper, to ask a lot of questions, to continue learning, to develop your quantitative skills. So what I would recommend is when you're researching programs, you know, try and, there's a lot out there. So again, try to see the ones that fit your ambitions more. You know, there are a lot of more, let's say, multidisciplinary fields also coming out, for example, related to behavioral economics or environmental economics, or so if you're into, or financial economics. So there's a lot out there. So again, you know, do a lot of research, talk to people if you can, to understand, you know, what are your career options and which kind of program helps to better position you and offer those skills. And then, of course, there are other facets that are could be relevant, which are also, you know, where the university is situated, the kind of university environment. Do you thrive maybe better in a smaller campus or bigger campus, things like that. But I would say that is secondary to the program itself. I see a question from Hussein. Hi, Hussein. Have you come back and ever been an instructor in AUB or other universities? Yes, so in addition to my full-time job, I did teach at AUB part-time. I taught 3 different courses a few years ago. Well, is there a specific reason you were asking me this, Hussein? Are you interested in maybe pursuing an academic path?
Hello, Miss Lea. And I'd like if you'd sometime maybe come back and teach another course, because I'm taking economics in AUB, so I think it'd be a great opportunity to learn more from such a professional.
Thank you so much, Hussein. I appreciate it. I actually did teach at AUB's economics department and really enjoyed it, really enjoyed interacting with students, and hopefully maybe in the future. So Hussein, if you are interested in a more academic career for economics, then I just want to advise everyone that you will need a PhD. So just to keep that in mind. And another piece of advice I would give is, again, everyone might have different timelines, but my suggestion is if you are interested to do a PhD, I suggest you do that, you know, while you're undergrad and if you've done a master's, all that education is still fresh. So I would, that would be my recommendation if that is something you want to pursue.
Do you mean not like we shouldn't wait a long time till we pursue PhD again? You mean like to do it يعني undergraduate, then MA, then PhD, يعني, and not have a gap between those periods?
I mean, you could, and it's a personal decisions. You might need to work for a bit for different reasons. But my main message, just again, based on my experience, is I find don't delay it too much if you want to do it. And the reason that I say that is you might need to work for a year or 2 or 3, etc. But by not delaying it, it means that the theory is still fresh in your mind, the quantitative skills, the economic theory, right? And and then you're still a little bit more in the student mindset. So those are a couple of the reasons why it's just a consideration for you. Again, those things are very personal decisions.
Okay, thank you so much.
And of course, work experience can also help you determine what it is you want to maybe study or really pursue in your PhD. So it can be very valuable. But I think it becomes a bit more challenging if you've waited maybe 10 years to do it. You know what I mean? So. Yeah,
fair enough. And on the topic of that, have you completed a PhD or not yet?
No, I have not. I did a master's and then ended up enjoying my work so much that I just kept progressing through work without the PhD. That's why I'm recommending that for you. That's just based on my experience. So I see Yara is asking, what are some tips you would recommend to help figure out what we want? I feel so lost at the moment. I do not know where to go next. Okay, Yara, I know this can be a very overwhelming time. And, do you mind me asking, what are you studying? What's your undergrad? What's your background? Okay, economics. Look, I would say the following. What really helps, okay, I know that you feel like there's so much out there and you might not really be sure what you want to do, or maybe you're very curious to pursue many different things. So I see you're also saying a minor in international law. That's actually a really nice combination. So what I would say, what really helps is to, first of all, if you have access to people around you, or people can put you in touch on certain fields that you might be interested in, to talk to them through something called, they're just informational interviews. You just want to know, what do you do in your daily job? Because sometimes the actual job can be very different from the experience of studying it, right? So that will help you to think about what might come later, right? And if it's something that you are driven to do and that you think you will enjoy, okay? So talking to people, you can do a lot of research online as well, okay? There's a lot of resources to help you with that. Another thing is for you to also ask yourself, right? What do I, what do I enjoy the most? Or what are questions I would really like to work on or learn about or help on, right? So part of it is for you to also ask yourself those questions, or maybe what are those skills that I have, right, that people keep telling me I'm good at, because that might also give you a hint on things that you might want to pursue further, okay? One thing I would tell you is, I think it's very normal to feel a bit lost, and you might not get to the exact answer, but if you have at least a little bit of a vision of where do you maybe see yourself, you might not know exactly where it is, but as long as you're going towards that and you are continuing to learn, that will help you to get there. So I see you've already selected economics with a minor in international law. So ask yourself, why did I make that decision at the time, right? What were you kind of contemplating or thinking about or dreaming of? Maybe your mind changed, maybe it switched, maybe now you have new ideas, and that's fine to pursue as well. So the one thing I would say, just to conclude on this, is think about now as a time where you are young, right? You have studied your undergrad, which is kind of a passport to the next step for you. And think of this really as an opportunity. What's really amazing right now is that you still have a lot of choice. And I think that's something that's really exciting. So learn more, do more research, think through your objectives, your aspirations, and make sure that you, if someone, whether through Amethyst or through your professors, etc., they can connect you to people you can learn more about the fields that you're interested in. And if you're an economist and you want to pursue that, then I would say a master's in economics is an excellent degree, because not just if you want to work in economics, but if you want to work in business, if you want to work in finance, if you want to work in nonprofits. I mean, what I'm saying is it's a very solid degree for many things that you can transition to after that as well. That's something that I have seen in my career as well. Good luck, Yara.
Hussein, you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to ask another question to Ms. Lea. Personally, along with my study of economics, I have been working on a minor in literature, and also on working on developing myself in fields of research and communication. So what I would like to ask, do you think that would be a plus, and in what ways?
A plus for economics or for a general graduate degree?
Yeah, for economics, further study and maybe research.
So when you say you're taking, what are you doing more in research? So you said there's the literature aspect, and what are you doing in research?
Yeah, so I said I'm minoring in literature, and I've also been participating in many extracurricular activities and programs that focus on research. So I've been given some research positions, and maybe and I'm applying for being a research assistant. So I would like to see if you think that would be a plus to the further degree in economics.
Yes, definitely. I would say yes. If you have the opportunity to be a research assistant, I highly encourage it, because you will, two things. One is you will develop further your research skills, your quantitative skills. You also have the opportunity to work with a professor, hopefully maybe get a paper published. These are all very, I mean, they would really help to support your foundation. It would also help you learn how the process works, help you, again, build your quantitative and your writing skills. So definitely that's a really great idea, and good luck, Hussein. I hope you get that opportunity. With respect to the minor in literature, I would say maybe less of a direct link with economics. One thing I will say, though, for everybody is that even as an economist, you need to have strong communication skills. Okay, this is really a transferable skill, no matter what your degree is, actually. When you're working, you will need to communicate both orally, when you're making a presentation, when you're in meetings, when you need to convey an idea, when you need to persuade an idea, but also writing. Writing is also really important. And here, the kind of writing, I'm talking about professional type of writing, it might be different in different fields, but the more you can improve your communication skills, the more it's also going to help you in actually almost any job. You're welcome, Hussein.
I think you answered this question already. Are there any specific quantitative skills that would be of added value for students aiming to pursue career in international economics?
Well, I would say you definitely, what is helpful is there are, for example, you will probably, if you do a master's in economics, you will need to study econometrics, and within that there are different techniques that you can use, and that is, there's there are techniques related to analysis using time series data or panel data, and then different techniques related to maybe different questions that you want to solve. So those are some things that you could that you will be exposed to, and you can always, of course, study that in depth further, depending on what's being offered at your university.
All right, just going down.
There's a question from Abdullah.
Abdullah, nothing about engineering. Well, you can attend our next week's session about financial engineering. I will send you the link for this, for a minor in data analytics would help in master in economics.
I think it could. I think it's a nice complement. You'll be analyzing, big sets of data. That's always helpful. And in a multidisciplinary way, it might actually give you some new ideas on in terms of answering economic questions.
Hello, I'm an AUB graduate. I took bachelor degree in business management, banks and customs. I graduated in 2008 and I worked at banks for 14 years. How can this program improve our future career path?
Well, the program, I guess you're referring to the Fulbright program. So the Fulbright scholarship basically will fund your master's degree. That's the program we're discussing at the moment. So if you wanted to specialize in economics or something else, then of course that's going to be an extra asset for you in your career. So since you already have 14 years of experience, you might want to think about, are you asking because you feel like you'd like a graduate degree to help you transition into another part of working in business management? Maybe then an MBA or an executive MBA, since you have a lot of experience, maybe that's more relevant for you. So so maybe that's something I don't have your full background, but from what you've written, I would say think about, if you believe that a graduate degree will help you to achieve your goals professionally, and then what kind of degree will help you reach there, given if you want to continue with the background that you have in business, or if you'd like to shift to something else. So maybe just in general, to answer your question, how can the program improve future career path? I mean, today a master's is almost like a BA was like 20 or 30 years ago. So in a way, many jobs require a master's degree as a requirement for many jobs. So that's basically one thing that would really be an asset in your educational path. You're welcome.
Lea, I would like to thank you again for being with us today, and thank you for giving us time to explain how beneficial was Fulbright for you and your experience, and how it improved your career in a way or another. I'm not sure anyone has any questions anymore. All right, I'd like to thank you again, Lea. Well, hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much for
else,
inviting me. It was a wonderful opportunity to speak to all these Fulbright aspirants. Good luck with your applications and keep working hard. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Lea. Thank you.